pancake breakfast, why Wuthering Waves is the best gacha right now. I think I have to agree. I do. I think Wua is, in my opinion, obviously this is always subjective. It's a preference at the end of the day. It is probably the best gacha or my favourite gacha at the moment. But I will say at the moment as well, Arknight's Enfield, such a good game. I'm really enjoying Reverse 1999. I really like Zenless Zone Zero. Got to get some honourable mentions in there for PGR, like Aether Gazer as well, man. But you know what? Since I've started actually trying to play Reverse 1999 properly, that game's gone up so high in my estimations, and it's definitely worth checking out by everybody, in my opinion. But let's see why Wuthering Waves is the best gacha right now, shall we?
So in a gacha gaming world that has been dominated by Hoyoverse, there's one game that stands above the rest. Love and Deep Space. I wish I was
the Mega
kidding.
Goon game.
This game has been dominating for so long, and I feel like this might be the first month in a while that it literally finally lost to Genshin Impact for the first time in a while. And hey, you know what? No hate on them. You know, they make their money. They do a good job doing it.
Hey, yo, girls got a goon too, I guess. Girls have got a goon too.
They know their audience. Okay, they've even offered me a sponsor before, but like I'm not the target audience, right? And I would rather...
Hey, yo, lads. Hey, yo, want to throw some money my way? I'll play it.
Like, put my efforts into games that I feel like have more substance to them, if you know what I mean. Which brings me to today's video. I wanted to talk about Wuthering Waves because currently, I believe, and I think a lot of people are agreeing with this sentiment right now, that Wuthering Waves currently is the best gacha game right now. Because when we look at the landscape right now, and you take a look over, let's say, at Genshin Impact, for example, they just wrapped up their main story arcs for Natlan. That means we're going to get a lot of filler.
And a lot of people are not even happy with it either, are they? And not even just the people who don't like Genshin. Like, I feel like when it comes to Natlan, a lot of the Genshin community is kind of torn. You know, what I hear from people is, it's all right. And then I hear a lot of people saying, it's not that good. I don't hear... Now, obviously, I'm casting a broad stroke here. I don't know everybody. That seems to be what I'm hearing. It's either it's okay, or it's not for them. I'm not really hearing many people say, yo, it's fucking fire, top tier update. Which every update can't be a top tier update, of course. And obviously, after 5 years, you're going to get a few misses. You know, Genshin does miss quite a lot, though, to be fair. Again, it's just not the nation of war, is it, man? It's really not the nation of war. Yeah.
After that, and their filler patches are not their best work, right? When you look at Honkai Star Rail, they just finished a bunch of filler. We just got a new world in Emphorius, but the problem is 3.0 was not hitting as hard as we all expected. It did not hit.
I think the problem with Star Rail, though, it's going through the biggest problem that it's got at the minute. It's not the gameplay or the story. It's the storytelling. It's the way it's delivered. That's the biggest problem with Star Rail at the moment. And obviously, you know, HP inflation, multiple banners, power creep, all that sort of stuff, which are separate arguments. But in regards to like the actual updates, the story, it's the storytelling that's suffering massive in Star Rail.
Like it should have hit. You can tell they're cooking for some future patches because we're going to get 8 main story patches in Emphorius, which is the first time I think Hoyoverse has ever done that in one of their games. It's very ambitious and whatnot, so it kind of broke the norm. And so I think they're...
Just imagine, though, if they do 8 chapters that like are delivered in such a way. They've got to step up the storytelling way, man. They've got to. Because like this game deserves it as well.
3.0 patch just did not cook. We'll see how things go. But as it stands right now, Honkai Star Rail, which is known for having one of the best gacha game stories in gacha, it just wasn't hitting, man. And it still has one of the best stories. They're just not telling their story very well right now.
Yep,
Then
true.
I pan over to Zenless Zone Zero, which I've been saying since launch was a game that was just going to get better. It just did not have itself quite figured out at its launch. It's almost like they didn't quite cook properly, or they needed maybe more player.
They are cooking hard now, though, in my opinion.
Player feedback. And once they got that player feedback, they started to, for example, reduce the amount of the TV system, which was just way too invasive in the game, more and more and more, until now we have it at a state that is enjoyable, that players really, really like. I think that the patch that we got, Caesar King and Bernice White with the Sons of Kaladin story arc, I thought that was a banger-ass story.
Yeah, it was, man. It was really enjoyable, actually. I've not long ago finished that, to be fair, and I absolutely had a blast with it. The the juxtaposition of Star Rail to Zenless right now, it's like night and day. You've got the one game that's got a really good story, it's telling it very badly. Then you've got another game that, in my opinion, has got a good story, but it's telling it in probably the best way in Gacha, I think. I think the storytelling, personally, in Zenless is probably better than Wuthering Waves. Now, Wuthering Waves are doing a really good job as well, but I think just specifically the actual storytelling aspect, cutscenes, the way the characters interact and all that, I think probably just pips Wuthering Waves in that regard specifically. But like, we was doing a really good job as well. But yeah, it's just night and day. You got one absolutely failing at storytelling and one just shining at it.
Story and a banger ass patch. I really enjoyed that, and I think that was the turn for things for Zenless Zone Zero, going into a direction that like raised it to the next level. But I do still
hopefully
have
it
some
continues.
issues with Zenless Zone Zero, and I'll get to that a little bit later in the video. You can call it nitpicking, you can call it whatever you want, but when I try to think of the best gacha game in the scene right now, and I look over at Wuthering Waves, and I look at the 2.0 patch drop that we had relatively recently,
probably the best patch in Gacha, right? Is that too much? I think it is, personally. Obviously, I haven't played every Gacha and been around for every Gacha patch, of course. But I think in terms of, like, patches that have, like, just gone up a level, I feel like Renacita's just done it, like, it's been the most sweeping patch, you know, improvement in story, storytelling, characters, voice acting, whole new area to explore. The visuals seem to step up a notch as well. The content has definitely improved in introducing flight, so much more. Like, in terms of a patch, it's just been a massive improvement on what was already a pretty decent game. You know, post 1.1, we was in a good place really, and 2.0 just like was like, fuck it, I'm not stopping. Yeah, I'd argue the best patch in Gacha gaming. I know those sort of things are thrown around all the time, but I feel like it might be.
And I'm thinking about what's coming in patch 2.1, which is only going to be like, what is that, like 9 days away now? Bro, I think that Wuthering Waves has separated itself from the rest of the crowd in its current game state above everybody else in terms of its quality, right?
Yeah.
Especially when I think about its combat and whatnot, which is, in my opinion, the most important part of the game. Yes, of course, the waifu collecting, the husbando collecting, right? The gooning, right? The traversal, the like, all of like the story. A lot of different things factor into this. And when I look at the overall picture, I think that Wuthering Waves currently, right now, is the best gacha game in the scene. Sure, that might change someday. Sure, it might change soon, but
hey, you never know. Arknights might be coming for that spot. Enfield, at least, anyway. Yeah, I've got to agree with that. I think, yeah, man. You know, combat's great. The space the gaming is in at the minute. It's just like quality-wise, quality of life, production, in an overall sense. I think he's just absolutely killing it. Again, for me, like the weak link in Wuthering Waves, it's events, you know. And at the minute, the end game could be better. I think a lot of gacha games kind of fail at the end game, though. But the end game definitely could be better in Wuthering Waves. And events are probably like the weak link. We need better events and more variety in the events as well. But yeah, man, everything else, yeah, they're cooking.
Currently, I think it's the best. Just looking at the 2.0 story for a second here, I don't feel like there was ever really a dull moment. And
same.
When I compare it to, let's say, Honkai Star Rail, for example, and their 3.0 story, which has a lot going for it, the problem with Honkai Star Rail is they just didn't present their story very well. You're sitting there looking at the same screen, the same characters.
Again, this is where I feel like the drastic drop-off of the storytelling in Star Rail, like, it can't just be laziness, right? I feel like it's gotta be that some staff are just working on other projects for Huyo. Because, like, it needs to be studied, the drop-off. It's insane, man. It's just insane.
The camera position never changes for, like, an extended period of time. But then when I look over at Wuthering Waves, they're just sitting there chatting, like, by the water, and the camera angles are changing. The characters are moving around. You're getting zoom in, you're, like, close-ups and then pan shots away. Stuff that we used to see in Honkai Star Rail, but we haven't been seeing lately. Stuff we thought that we would get in 3.0, but we didn't get in 3.0. you get it like maybe like 5% of the time through the entire 3.0 patch. You get it all of the time through the 2.0 Wuthering Waves patch.
Fair.
When you just look at story alone,
bro, he's not lying, right? Bro, he's not lying.
Wuthering Waves clears right now. So it just goes to show how important your presentation is.
Agree.
Because Honkai Star Rail, I feel like, has one of the best stories in Gacha right now. I still feel like they need to have more balls and kill a few of their characters, but, you know, it is...
End of the day, though, man, like, story can be massively let down by the storytelling, can't it? The way it's delivered, you know? You can have, like, a pretty poor story, and it doesn't really matter how well it's delivered. It's not really going to get better. It can, I guess, be a bit more engaging and look better, production-wise, but you can't do much. But you can really nerf a really good story if you just deliver it in a bad way, can't you? Which is a massive shame, again, because I agree, like, Star Rail has got a cool story and universe, and, as I said, the fall-off needs to be studied,
It
man.
is what it is.
It legit needs to be studied.
They're not presenting their story very well to us right now. 3.0, we thought was when they were going to put more effort in and really start, you know, telling the story the way they used to tell the story. The same stuff that we saw in patch 2.0 of Wuthering Waves with how they were presenting the story to us, we saw those same exact techniques in Honkai Star Rail. Where do you think Kuro Games learned how to tell the Wuthering Waves story? From Hoyoverse, the makers of Honkai Star Rail. So it's kind of wild to me that they...
I see what he's saying. I don't know if it's fair to say that as if, like, other games haven't done that prior to him. I get what he's saying. But yeah, I don't think that was like, they were like, man, how do you tell a story in a video game? And then Star Rail was like, hey, you know, there's obviously other options, but I totally get what he's saying.
They decided that they wanted to fall off for no reason, right? They just decided they don't want to tell their story very well. Even though they know that they could, we all know that they could, but they're being lazy. And while Hoyoverse
like,
is sort of...
It just makes me, is it that? Like, maybe I'm giving far too much credit for Hoyo here because we know that they don't give a shit sometimes. But I just feel like it was there. It's not like it wasn't there and it's never been there. It was there and then it's just gone. And in my head, I'm just like, they're doing it at ZZZ. So like their workers, their staff, their project that they're doing there, they're delivering what they need to deliver. And I think they're delivering what they need to deliver because there was a massive reduction in spending that they were like, shit, we got to turn this ship around right now. But I feel like Star Rail's kind of like in the Genshin situation where it's just chugging along. They've got that fan base that are probably just not going to go away. And they were like, you know what? We can pull people from these to work on future projects where we probably can't afford to do that with ZZZ. It hasn't got on its feet yet. We need to, like, you know, they need to be concentrating on that. But we can pull people from Star Rail because, oh man, I just don't see how it can just be... Again, I'm giving them too much credit. I just, there's a part of me, I'm a cynical person, but there's just a part of me that's like, why would they do that? Like, when they were doing it anyway, you know? And I understand it, you know, you can increase your profits that way, but I don't know, man. I feel like the people are just not there.
Dropping the ball right now with their storytelling. A game like Wuthering Waves is stepping it up and actually showing us the best storytelling they probably...
Really interesting to see what happens in this live stream on the 7th, won't it?
...have ever done to this point so far, which is pretty awesome. And so I want to address this power creep situation now, right? We got to talk about it because it's a thing. It's been a thing in every single gacha game ever made. They want you to pull the new units, right? It happens, but some games do it better than others. I'll actually have to say that Genshin Impact has been not so bad about power creep for the most part,
fair.
right?
I
mean, they're in, what, 5.3 right now? They're going to be...
I've spoken about this before, man. Power creep is not inherently a bad thing. It's about how you do it. It's about the rate in what power creep happens, the time, how much a character in a banner really reduces a previous character to nothing, how quick that happens, endgame content, and how the content scales with a creep. You know, it really doesn't matter if some characters are just inherently way more powerful than previous characters if the end content really doesn't adjust with them and they just do it easier, but other characters previously can still clear it happily. The real problem is when that time is constrained, like condensed down really quickly and it starts to happen fast. The HP inflation and the end game starts to creep as well, and the older units get left behind, so they stop being able to clear stuff so much, and then, you know, banners that you've just previously pulled on recently just become worthless in quick succession. That's when power creep ultimately is just shit, and nobody likes that. And inevitably, it turns most people off. But, you know, having that slow, you know, tick up of power, I think it's a good, it makes new characters desirable for me personally. You know, it's just about doing it right over a long enough period of time, keeping the end game at a point where older stuff can clear it, bringing out support units and sustain units here and there and buffers and all that sort of stuff that can then really lift up older units as well. So it like kind of adjusts the meta on a regular basis. And I think you're good to go and you're fine to have power creep. At the end of the day, all gacha games are going to have it. When people say that Wuthering Waves isn't going to have power creep, I'm just like, I feel like that's naive. Now, it's how they do it and how, you know, how balanced it is and how well it works is a thing. And I think at the moment, even though we've seen units come out more powerful, it's not a problem in the game at the moment. It's totally fine. But I think eventually we are going to see, you know, an actual distinctive creep that we can go, right, it's happened. Whether it's a problem is a different thing.
Going into 5.4 next. And, you know, how many of you still play Yelon, right? How many of you still play Bennett? How many of you still play Jiangling? You know what I'm saying?
Don't play the game anymore.
4-star units, like units from way back in the day, people are still using to this day, and they're still top-end characters, right? So Genshin's not been too bad about this. Sure, we've seen some power creep recently. You know, we've seen characters like Arlecchino already get power crept by a character like Malvika. But I mean,
that might look so ass. I'm sorry. That might look so ass.
It makes sense that the Archon's gonna be good, and if it's a fire Archon, it's probably gonna be the best fire character on its release.
It just looks so odd seeing a fucking flying around on that futuristic looking motorbike in a land of dinosaurs and like tribes people and stuff. You know, the nation of war looking happy as fuck. It just looks so weird.
That's fair. That makes sense. But it is a thing. It does happen. Honkai Star Rail has been worse about this recently.
Yeah.
I think people used to complain about power creep in Honkai Star Rail way too much, but that was a long time ago now. And when you look at the current game state, power creep is here, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better. It
is, and of course you can ease this, but I think by virtue of being a turn-based game, I think it's just inevitable to be harder to stop it, and it's harder to balance things out a little bit. Of course, I don't think they're helping themselves at all. It feels like they're just like, well, fuck it now. But I do think inevitably as a turn-based game, because there's no skill expression, it's all about raw numbers. That's all there is. It's always going to be, you know, it's going to be exacerbated in a turn-based game. But it does feel like they've just like thrown caution to the wind and they're like, who cares now? You know, we're in it. We're in it. Let's just go balls deep.
The only character that it seems like has been able to survive power creep is a character like Jing Yuan, who is a 1.0 character, to be fair. But he's kind of getting like an indirect, sort of almost accidental anti-power creep situation, because the character that's buffing him is Sunday, who's going to be a summoner buffer, and he has the best summon in the game right now. We just started the summoner.
So this is what I say, man. You know, support characters can be used to bring up older characters.
Meta, when a new summoner character comes out that's a main DPS, he's gonna be put on the bench, dog, okay? He's still going to be good. You can still clear with him.
Yeah, I agree. That's one of the problems with Star Rail, isn't it? It's like the patches. You got the gimmick of the patch almost. You know, HB inflation. It feels that like it's a game of haves and have-nots. It feels specifically with Star Rail for me that if you don't have the new fresh stuff, the game just feels like a real chore. If you have to breeze to clear kind of thing. And yeah, man, I'm not a fan of that shit.
But my point is,
I don't mind newer stuff being that bit easier, but the idea that like if you don't, it's just not fun. And that was already happening when I kind of stopped playing Star Rail, to be fair. And it looks like it's only got worse.
He will get power crept, right? And like it's rare you get a character like that. Characters that are usually you don't usually get immunity to power creep. What you usually get is characters that have longevity, like Acheron, you know, a character like maybe Fei Xiao, because Fei Xiao's ultimate just
kind of depends on like interoperability in a sense, doesn't it really, that allows that?
Basically gets to do stuff regardless of what the meta is, right? So she'll still be relevant. Characters like Acheron will still be relevant, right? You'll still see some characters that have longevity, but Power creep is real in Honkai Star Rail. And then when you look over at Zenless Zone Zero, which is a newer game, a lot like Wuthering Waves. But, whoa man, Zenless Zone Zero already has power creep.
It's true. I know it's weird, like, and I'll probably rue this, but I'm like, I don't even care with me, Abby. Because she's just so fucking sick. But there's no denying it. It's there. It's there. And it's been kind of quick. Ellen still works, you know, but like she has been kind of fucking smashed. Again, though, for me, it all comes down to like the end game as well, which is a big factor. But true, you know, can't argue, man. You know, she was an insane jump, an absolute insane jump.
Dog, look at Miyabi. Miyabi is miles ahead of every single other character, and bro, Miyabi's the
okay, but like all DPS characters, I've never expected to last more than 3 patches. CG kind of reminds me of the Honkai Impact Third character trailer.
Newest ice DPS. In 1.0, we got Ellen, which was the best ice DPS, and she's still a very strong character, but when you compare her to Miyabi, it's not even close.
Yeah, it's not.
And Zenless Zone Zero hasn't even reached its 2.0 patch yet, and it's already got power.
I feel it's just, I suppose it just depends on how it works, doesn't it? It's like, if that character's still viable to clear stuff, and it doesn't happen constantly, then, you know, it can be forgiven now and again. But I guess I'm playing devil's advocate here, because I can't really, I suppose I can't defend it, really. Or I suppose it's just because I'm enjoying the game in the minute where I'm like, it don't matter. But, you know, like I say, I'll probably come to rue the day I said that comment.
Power creep like that. And then we just got Astra Yao, who's a monster buffer / sustainer, right? Like, and to be fair here, I will be fair, because I do like to be fair. Like, sustainability characters are the characters that are released the least. They're released less than any other character. DPS gets the most, and then it's like supports and sub DPSs, and then you...
I feel like, isn't that like kind of a thing across the board though? Or am I tripping there? It's just that, you know, DPS characters really sell as well, don't they? You know? Support units definitely are more valuable in a sense, especially when they're support units that can help a lot of characters, or specifically hyper help, shall we say, more specific characters rather than a bunch of characters. But they are, aren't they? Like, you know, they're the flashy, big number, big damage kind of characters that sell. You know, in a lot of people's mind, they see a character, they're like, holy shit, look at the numbers. And they're like, they want that, where that's great, but usually and typically a character that'll tend to benefit the account more usually will come in like the guise of like a really good support, sustain, and even sub DPSs. But, you know, it's the shiny new toy, isn't it, a DPS though? So I can understand a lot of games leaning into DPSs, to be fair. Like we was you know, quite DPS heavy as well. Like, I think a lot of gacha games are really.
You get like the supporter / sustainability character, because in Zenless Zone Zero, your sustain character typically also gives you buffs too, so it's kind of like in a way sort of like a hybrid slot.
Man, Yao's titties are just insane, bro. What the hell?
And Astra Yao is the second premium top tier character for that slot. So to be fair, you have Caesar King and Astra Yao. Those are 2 slots filled now, okay? So that, in all fairness, that's normal. But when you look at a character like Miyabi, damn, bro, that's kind of crazy that she's that much better than every single other character that I've seen people doing weird, goofy runs. Well, they'll use like the worst Miyabi team they could ever assemble.
It's kind of true, man. She's a solo queen, right?
And then they'll compare it to like Ellen's best team possible, and the Miyabi team will do better by like a mile. It's bad, bro. But when I look over at Wuthering Waves and I see a character like Jian, who was literally the first premium character ever released, he has a play style where if you play him optimally, and it is a tougher way to play him. You could play him brain dead and he still plays well, but you could play him in a tougher way and he performs like the other top DPSs around him. He's a 1.0 character and he still kicks butt to this day. And when I look over at some of these support characters or some of these sub DPS characters. I mean, Yinlin was also a 1.0 character, and I know many of you are still playing Zhangli Yao because he was the free character that we got, who, by the way,
I underrated my guy for ages, I did. I absolutely underrated him for ages. People saying that Wither and ZZZ are currently the best gacha games right now. Meanwhile, I'm stuck on Arknights for 5 years. Something I didn't find in AK is the concern of DPS limited or not higher character stars or not. They have lots of good characters to be not to be concerned about. That's why I personally consider Arknights is the best current gacha game. I didn't know about the Enfield. Enfield's fire. I really like Enfield. I can't really speak on Arknights. I played it for about 20 minutes max. So that's, you know.
The free character that we got is one of the best in the game. Thanks, Kuro. That's actually
dude, he's insane.
An awesome thing, bro.
Insane.
And to be fair, Dr.
Like,
Ratio and Honkai...
I genuinely feel like, though, he happened because of Calcharo. I feel like Kuro don't know what to do with Calcharo. And I feel like they're just like, if we just kind of push him out the back door and be like, here's the new guy. You know, he's almost like, I know he's not a rework because he's a different character, but he almost feels like a soft rework of Calcharo. And I feel like that's a big reason of why he was free as well. Like, you know, because it was like, right, people will be angry if he's a premium banner and he's just clearly a better option for most people. That's why that's a big factor, I think, why he was free, because it was like, yeah, we don't know what to do with this guy, so here's a new version. Enjoy.
Star Rail, when he was given to us for free, he was also a top tier character, in all fairness. But I mean, bro, to this day, still, Zhangli Yao Yinlin combination team, that thing kicks butt. And Yinlin is a 1.0 character, bro. She's cracked, man.
She is cracked.
Bro, when you look at Jinshi and you look at Cheng Li, these were 1.1 characters and still amongst the best.
Jinxi's just top tier. Top tier. That nuke. Oh, yes, baby.
Characters in the game to this day. It, like, pretty much any new top tier character that comes out will be very strong, but are they necessarily going to be so much better than the other characters around them that it's a must pull or something like that? I don't feel that, right? I don't feel like there's any game where, like, any of the top gachas, there's a must pull. I know some gacha games, there are characters that release that are so much better than the rest that you're going to feel like a actual...
I don't know, man. I feel like in Wuthering Waves, I suppose people will always argue this point, which I get it. I guess this is what he's saying, but I feel like for me, Shorekeeper feels like a must pull. She really does. You know, she's just insane. Like, Verena's great as well. Boiji does a good job, you know. Some people are throwing, like, Yoo-Hoo and stuff like, you know, Verena, S tier, you know. Shorekeeper, though, and I know she's a little bit of longer wind-up time. Like, she's insane, man, especially if you get that C2 version of her. You know, you get the extended Stellar Realm, and then you get the 40% attack buff, I think it is, on the outer Stellar Realm, which for me is just insane. You know, Cammy as well. Although not a must pull, so to speak, but she's just an incredibly good character. He just absolutely smashes everything in front of her and is super easy to play, which I think in a game like Wuthering Waves is really, really useful, especially if you just kind of want to play super casual and you don't want to have to stress about rotations and playing characters like the ultimate efficiency version of them. You know, you just pop Sanhua in there, ride Shorekeeper with a Cammy, and they'll just fucking steamroll everything in front of them, you know what I mean? And then, like, obviously, Carlotta's just fucking cracked as well. Yeah, like, I think the thing with Wuthering Waves, which they do a good job of, is because the game's got so much nuance to it. Characters that might not seem that great to a lot of people can really be used really well by other people who can just play them ultimately better.
Actual idiot if you don't pull them, but I don't feel that way about most of these top gacha games, right? You might feel that a little bit with Honkai Star Rail these days, but with a game like Wuthering Waves, I've never once felt that way. I've never once felt like if I get this character, it's going to make or break my account. Or if I get,
I won't go that
this
far.
Character's going to make or break my account.
I do genuinely think Shorekeeper's an incredible character to have on your account, though. You know, I'd argue, like, you know, Cammy's great as well and Jinxie, but in terms of, like, overall benefit to your entire account, I feel like Shorekeeper's a really good shout.
Exception is maybe a character like Shorekeeper, because again, we don't really get those sustainability characters that much.
Yep.
So in the early stages,
that's why I'm hoping the Holy Maiden's going to come in and just be a fucking broken sustain character. Yes, please. I'll be pulling on her as well. I hope she is anyway, Because I don't like using Boiji. I want 3 cracked sustained characters. I'll have Arena, Shorekeeper, and then the Holy Maiden then, and I'll be happy.
Of a game like with Zenless Zone Zero or Wuthering Waves, in all fairness, it's okay for one of those new units to come out and actually be like really, really good and valuable for everyone to pick up, because it's the first time we've ever really had that. Shorekeeper was our first premium sustainability character in Wuthering Waves, so of course, that's one of the rare moments of like, okay, guys, pick this character up. It's kind of important. Like if you wanna be at top level play, it's kind of important to pick up that character. You know what I mean? And then when I look at character designs, Wuthering Waves holds up, bro. I mean, just look at Camellia. Right? She looks great, and she's also got fan service, and you don't even have to do anything weird with your camera angle to see it either. And then, dude,
bro, for real, man, I know a lot of people underrate Jinsey in the way she looks. Jinsey, man, I'm telling you, man, the white hair supremacy in Wuthering Waves is fucking real.
Wuthering Waves has some of the best looking dudes in all of Gacha, bro.
True.
Like, there's not a lot.
They need to make Yarn a resonator just to clear up everything. If Yarn becomes a resonator, I'll argue, undoubtedly the best male looking characters. Because obviously Gian looks great. Even Mordefi looks decent as well. Calchero, fucking sick. Yarn needs to become a resonator, though. That dude is an absolute giga chad.
A lot of great looking guys in Gacha because they're stuck wearing the same weird sort of designs like all the time. Gian looks cool. Look at Gian. That's one of the best looking dudes I've ever seen in a Gacha game, bro. Straight up. And I don't even need to mention Changli and Yinlin. You already know. By the way, Wuthering Waves, you guys need to release more guys, okay? You guys make some of the best dudes in all the Gacha, and there's like barely any of them, okay? By the way, where's Geshu Lin? If we don't get Geshu Lin by the end of the year, I'm gonna... I ain't even gonna lie, man.
I think I'd rather play a Scar, man. Like, I get it. Dude's kind of sick. But this is gonna trigger a lot of people. We're looking at the pictures the other day, man. Dude's got an NPC vibe to him, at least in his attire. You know, dude's a Chad. Oh, bit of an NPC vibe there as well. But man, Scar for me. I hope to God Scar has to become a playable character, man. I'm gonna be pissed if he doesn't.
I was gonna say something crazy, but I'll just be really upset about it and make a fuss on it on Twitter.
Ain't gonna lie, Female Rover had the best Gacha MC character design indeed. He's just so peak. Female Rover is really good. Do you know what? Female main character as well that I really like, Belle from Zenless Zone Zero. I think she's such a cool looking character. Proper cute, love her design. She's colourful. She's so well animated. She looks so good in the cutscenes as well. But yeah, Female Rover does look good.
To be fair, Zenless Zone Zero like actually stepped it up with their character rigging, meaning that the way the characters can be
I think they're the best. I've said this, character rigging, animations and cutscenes in Zenless Zone Zero is the best in Gacha gaming at the moment.
Animated because of the way their skeletons are rigged for the characters is probably the best in all of Gacha right now. It's just...
I think... the only thing that looks like it might potentially challenge it is NTE. It has some insane cutscenes. Some of the stuff that they've been doing in NTE in the cutscenes where they're like switching from 2D animation overlays coming in and everything is really, really good. And I must admit, we can't say it yet because we haven't really seen it. Ananta looks like it's doing some good stuff, but yeah, I think ZZZ, clears it, man.
It's not close. Like, they actually stepped it up to a level that is above pretty much everybody else that I could even think of right now. But when Wuthering Waves holds up, because I do feel like stylistically, Wuthering Waves does hold up very, very well. I mean, imagine you could just port over a Yinlin into Zenless Zone Zero's, like, skeletal rigging. Oh my god, bro. Oh
yes.
Boy, I would,
yes, please.
My point is, when you look at all of these top Gacha games and all the things that they do well, when you start tallying off all the positive things that they have going for them between like Zenless Zone Zero, Genshin, Honkai Star Rail, Love and Deep Space, Dragon Ball Z, Wuthering Waves just has the most things going for it. It has the most things.
Yeah, I think if you do look at it as like a holistic thing, in my opinion, like overall, I agree. I think, it either beats a lot of games in a lot of areas, or like it comes close enough that you can be like, well, if you tally it all up together, it kind of like clears. Yeah, I think, I agree. Well, I don't know why I'm saying that. Like I said it at the start of the video, I do agree. I think Wuthering is the best right now. And you know what? A lot of people don't like it when you say this about video games. I hope it doesn't stay like that for long. Because that just means we get better video games, and then we were asked to step it up, and then maybe we can come back to being the better one. I hope Arknight's Enfield is better than we were. I hope Ananta is better than we were, and we were have to go, oh shit, we got to get our shit together now, you know? Because that's good for us at the end of the day.
On the positive tally list right now. If you average everything out, they're just doing the best. That's why I say that Wuthering Waves is the best gacha game right now. Again, eventually, that's probably going to change, maybe once they get through their patch 2.0 main story and start to hit some filler patches, or whatever the heck you might want to say. And yeah, I'm not sitting here being delusional, right? Like, Wuthering Waves has not always been the best. Bro, do you guys remember patch 1.2? Me neither, okay? Because
that's kind of dead, wasn't it, really?
Because I think...
Could have been so much more, this could have. They could have had a bunch of little mini games, and this would have been an actual decent filler event. You know, if you went to all the stores, excuse me, and there was cool little abstract mini games to play, different ways to approach the game, this would have been a fun little event. It would have still been very much filler, but it wouldn't have been bad. It was pretty dry, to be fair.
Collectively, we all pretty much like blocked that out of our memory, right? We remember Zhang Li Yao came out. We remember Zheje came out, and it wasn't the best. It wasn't the best. And so, you know, once maybe Wuthering Waves gets past its 2.0 main story and it starts to hit a little bit of filler, maybe you'll see a moment like that happen again.
I am a Jinsey simp, man. Straight up.
And when that does, it won't be the best, right? In terms of its quality, okay? I understand Wuthering Waves isn't making as much as Genshin Impact is right now.
Oh, bro. Hey, yo, if you're making Woomer videos, you're not allowed to bring up gacha revenue charts. People will string you up.
Which, by the way, this whole sensor tower thing, this is all just a bunch of bullshit, okay? They will even...
You backed yourself up, well done. You dug the hole and you hopped straight out of it. Hey, like the thought.
Tell you when they post up
Quick
the sensor
thinking,
tower,
bro.
it's only the mobile numbers. It doesn't have all of China's numbers. It doesn't factor in a lot of different things.
This is all true. I have to say, though, I do think it's representative of trends. The accuracy, obviously, probably could be miles off. Sometimes it might be close, sometimes it might be miles off. But I think it's somewhat reflective of trends to a degree, you know? But agree, you know, it is all bullshit.
But
it's bullshit.
To be fair, when you look at this big gap here for Genshin, it's obvious that even if all those numbers came through, Genshin would still be the top earner for this last month of January.
It's indicative of trends, isn't it?
To be fair...
Yeah. It's like, I think if you see numbers where there's 40 million in between one place and the next place, it's probably safe to say, even if those numbers are a few million out either or there, you know, either side, and we added everything else together, probably still would be one above the other. But if you're talking like a few million in between them, then they could flip each other, couldn't they? I think it's fair to say it's indicative of trends, though, personally. But at the same time, you know, you shouldn't put anything in it. And even if it was in like exactly right, stop acting like you get a part of the pie, you know? Too many people do that. They brag about their gacha games making more money. And it's like, bro, what are you buying with that? You getting a new Porsche? You getting a new house? You getting a condo? What you going to do with it, man? Where's your stocks? Where's your stocks, bro?
At least during that, the Archon is the hype moment. That's going to be the most money they earn in like all of Natlin. You know what I mean? Unless Skirk comes out, and then Skirk might be the highest earning one. My point is, the most earning gacha does not necessarily mean it's the best. Look at Love and Deep Space, okay? Yep. I'm not going to hate on the game, but I will say that they don't even have...
Mackie D's makes a lot more money than a lot of top-tier restaurants. Does it mean the food's better tasting? Is it better for you? No?
Combat. It's just a gooner simulator, right? It's just a girlfriend simulator, or boyfriend simulator. Whatever, you know what I mean. The best gacha is the best quality.
It's the girls' gooner game.
It's not about the money per se, but Wuthering Waves isn't exactly doing that bad in that front either.
Yeah, man.
So remember too that a lot of people can't play Wuthering Waves on mobile because it...
Hey, yo, I think if they put an update out like 2.0, they've got to be doing something right, because the quality level increase is just insane. You know, if you're struggling for cash, I don't think you're doing stuff like this personally.
It is a more challenging game. It's not as enjoyable on mobile. So if you had the PC numbers or any other numbers that matter more that a lot of people are playing on, I've never...
I keep saying this. I think probably more than any other gacha game, not having PC numbers being reflected in the numbers, although they're wrong anyway, would drastically change what we see for Wuthering Waves. Because again, I could be wrong here. I just think potentially the numbers on PC dwarf that on mobile. I do. I think even in other places around the world, not just the West, people are playing this game on PC. You know, I've said it multiple times. Wuthering Waves just happens to be on mobile. It's not a mobile game. And if I was on mobile, I don't game on mobile anyway. And if I could only game on mobile, I wouldn't be playing games like Wuthering Waves. But I wouldn't spend, you know. And I feel like there's a lot of people who are like, man, I probably would spend on this if I could play it properly, but they just hold back because they can't. And I'd love to know the PC numbers, not for the actual amount they earn. I'd just love to see the percentages, because in my head, I really do genuinely think PC numbers could massively dwarf the mobile numbers, and I'd just love to know if it's true.
Played Wuthering Waves.
We'll never
on
find
mobile.
out, like, but
You know what I mean? Think about that for a second. Most people I know that play mobile only, they don't play Wuthering Waves. So some of them, they're like, Wuthering Waves is missing a great deal of money from this amount here. Keep that in mind, okay? Anyways, you guys let me know in the comments which gacha game you think is the best right now, because this is probably going to change, right? Honkai Star Rail might pick up the pace and actually, like, perform like we all...
Yeah, man, it's a fickle space. It's a fickle space.
expected it would with Amphorius, you know? Genshin Impact might surprise us with a crazy, amazing filler patch. Zenless Zone Zero might go to its 2.0 soon, and that might blow us all out of the water. So let me know what you guys' favorite is right now, what you think's gonna be the best, and if there's anything you missed in this video, because...
I think for the next, I don't know, personally, for the next 4 to 5 months, I think it's going to be a battle between ZZZ and Wua, in my opinion, in terms of what I think I'll see as what's better for me and what's quality. I think they're going to be the two locking heads. And then there's, like, you know, again, the game like Reverse 1999, loving it. Obviously, when Arknight's Enfield comes out as well, that's going to be coming into the equation for me, definitely. You know, PGR, great game as well. But I think in terms of, like, production value, and if we look at all the positives, I think I'd probably say those two are going to be like butting heads for the next few months until another fighter enters the ring, shall we say. But yeah, man, that was a great video. That was let me drop a subscription and drop a like on the video to Pancake Breakfast, guys. Go check out Pancake Breakfast. Why Wuthering Waves is the best gacha right now. I think I have to agree. I'd love to know what you guys think.